What's happening? So here's another review. This time I'm going to be taking a look at the Numark NDX 500. I just have a soft spot for budget gear. You know, for a lot of us who enjoy DJing, and I use that term loosely to mean, you know, people who love mixing and or turntablism. That's not going to be a vocational sort of a thing. It's in many cases, you know, almost going to be an expensive hobby, really. So if I can find, you know, relatively affordable gear that works well, it gets me excited. So this unit is it's a standalone CD and USB media player. It's also a MIDI controller, and this comes pre-mapped right out of the box for Serato DJ. In this review, I'm just gonna talk about this really as a standalone media player. If you're interested knowing how it works as a Serato controller, there's another video from DJ Ellie-El that's already up and does a good job explaining that, and I'm gonna put a link to that video right down in the description. So if that's what you're interested in, go check that out. If you're interested in seeing this as a media player, this is the video you want to see. The other thing too is I'm going to consider this a long-term review. I've had these particular units for a month, but I did own the predecessor, the NDX 400. I had a pair of those, which I used fairly consistently over a 4-year period. I actually gigged with those, so I'd run them for 4 to 6 hours at a time, and I never had any issues with them, not with the hardware, not with any of the firmware. They worked phenomenally, really, and I have since passed those along to a friend, and he's using them, you know, at the time of this video, no issues whatsoever. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the 500 would exhibit the same you know, build quality and the same reliability and function as the 400. And, you know, having these in front of me, they feel, and you know, well, there's some cosmetic changes, but they're basically identical with some improvements on these actually, namely being the MIDI controller. So. Yeah, I would recommend these for sure for home use, for a media player. It kind of depends on you know, what your expectations are, of course, you know, in a media player, but these things are totally solid and reliable. You know, they do a good job of emulating, you know, they're a digital turntable, basically. You know, they're really basic, almost primitive, really, compared to the, you know, 2018 what Pioneer and Denon has to offer. But, you know, they're a fraction of the price. So, you know, I would recommend these, you know, for somebody, and still there are these people today in 2018 who are still, you know, using, you know, playing those and using these, and, you know, maybe they want to switch over to you know, to play some digital music and don't want to go with the laptop or the DVS or software controller setup. These would be perfect. Also, maybe you know, somebody who's getting new, learning how to mix, you know, and they want to get in without spending a whole bunch of money. You know, not everybody has, you know, $1,000 to $4,000 to spend on a pair of media players. So, you know, these things come in at under, you know, $250 a piece for a brand new unit. You know, and like I said, they're reliable, so you can't go wrong. So, you know, the main difference, though, like I said, these things are just, you know, maybe they would have been the technology like good 10 to 15 years ago. You know, so they don't have any sort of file management or file preparation software or anything like that goes along with them. So if you're somebody who's used to the new generation of CDJs or used to using you know, software, you probably wouldn't be too happy with these. So mainly, you know, the point of these would be playing, being able to play digital files off of a USB. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, it's a convenience, really. You know, and the availability of new music, stuff like that. You know, they do the job well. I've never had any issues with you know, playback of, you know, CDs or, you know, with the USB sticks. And, you know, that's what you would expect, but, you know, not every brand, you know, when you're talking about budget stuff, works that way. But these certainly do. Now, I'll tell you, some of the things with that, the maximum, there's no link or anything like that, so you have to put a USB stick in each deck. You can't share files between them. Your maximum size of your USB that these will use is 32 gigs, so you're not going to put like a 1 terabyte hard drive or anything on there. But again, like I said, for home use, I don't think that's really a deal breaker. At least it's not for me. Now, when you pop these things in, the load time is really only seconds. I've got tracks already loaded up on here, but I'm telling you, it's like less than 3 seconds till you put your USB stick in, press your source, and it's ready to go. Like I said, there's no file management on here, so you don't have any sort of search or anything like that. The only way to navigate through the folders and tracks are just to navigate through them using the folder and the track select button, and they'll just show up just the way that you saved them on the USB stick. So not too big of a deal. This display, again, basic. I mean, I can't use that word enough. It's like pumpkin spice latte levels of basic. So what you got here, you have some track info, not very much, and it scrolls. You don't have a whole whole big area for that. It'll give you a time reading, which you could do a countdown or count up. Then you have a little bar display for your time remaining. So, with these, like, you don't have any waveforms. I mean, even on vinyl, you can read the grooves to see where breakdowns and stuff are. So you really have to know your tracks well, mixing on these. So that's a little bit different. But, the old decks were like that as well. And there's more of the budget stuff. Even if, back with the CDJ 1000s didn't have amazing, waveforms on them like they do today. Let's see what else this has on there. Well, there's a Bpm readout, which is not horribly accurate. There's a tap button if you want to use that, but I don't even really understand, quite frankly, why it's there, because there aren't any effects or anything like that are time-based where the machine needs to know the BPM. And then as far as like a DJ, I mean, you should have an idea. I mean, I think, you're downloading stuff. It tells you on, Beatport, most of the sites, what the BPM is anyway. But I mean, you should have a general idea, at least of the range of the tracks that you're playing. So I don't even pay attention to it really. So it doesn't work that great. You also have a pitch percent display, so you have an idea of where your pitch fader is, and it kind of moves me over to there. So as far as the pitch fader, it's a nice long throw fader. You've got several different pitch ranges. 4%, it's real small, that's good. 8%, which you'd be used to on your Technics, and 16, and then a wide thing, which is more for effects than anything. The thing that's interesting about this is it displays a really tight pitch resolution, like 1/100th of a percent, which I find hard to believe, for a deck, at this cost to have that. Even like Pioneer, now I might be wrong, but I think their tightest resolution is like 2/100ths of a percent. So I find it hard to believe these would be better. On the flip side of that, I haven't had really any issues of, blending with these. They work just fine. Pitch fader, feels good. It's not wobbly or anything like that. Next to it, you've got your 5-inch jog wheel. The jog wheel's nice and heavy. It's a free spinning jog wheel, so you could do like a spin back with it. The NDX 400s were pretty stiff. People had complained about that, so I wonder if Numark, changed that when they made these decks, but these feel a lot different than the other ones. They have bend buttons here. They work. I don't really use them, but if you're into that, they're there for you. So, one other thing too. Here we've got this button, which is, sorry about this, Master Tempo. Master Tempo, I don't know why they call it that. It has nothing to do with tempo at all. It's a key lock is what it is. So, if you're using key analyzing software and, do harmonic mixing that way, you hit the master tempo and it keeps the key the same when you're changing the speed with the pitch. This thing is terrible. I mean, and it was the same way on the 400. It didn't improve on this. With some of the Pioneers and stuff like that, you can hear some artifacts as you get into the, the wider pitch ranges and you're getting farther away from zero. You might hear some digital artifacts from the key lock on there. With this, I mean, it's like straight out of the gate, like it's like all crunchy and glitchy sounding. It's just terrible. So I don't ever use it. So if you're using, relying on that, like, mixed in key or whatever, to do harmonic mixing, you're going to be pretty upset with these. The other thing too is when you put the key lock on, if you're doing like a pitch bend with the with the jog wheel, you won't hear that pitch warble, with the key lock on. So you're going to have to do as tight as you can. And same thing like with vinyl. So I mean, if you do a small enough nudge, you're not really going to notice it. And I think it's the same with these. So to me, again, not too much of a deal breaker. You have here on the top, there's you have one bank of loops, and the loops, they're not quantized or anything like that, and they don't even have a, there's no adjust point. So, I mean, you can't do it by frame or anything like that. So if you want to just, redo your loop, you just have to hit it in again. They're pretty decent about getting mixable loops on there, but it's kind of hit or miss. Not the best, but it's not, unusable either. So, if you're, in a mix, it's probably kind of dangerous to hit a loop. You're probably going to, have a good chance of, galloping out. Probably a better idea of making a loop and then mixing into it. So, I mean, we'll see here. We'll play something here and see like how well or poorly it works, just on the fly. And this is how it goes. Let's see. It sounds like a pretty decent loop, really. It's maybe a little faster at that refresh point, but you'd be able to tell when you're mixing, But if you're just using the loop to loop, I don't think anybody would notice it. So, and then if you wanted to reloop it, you just hit reloop. Cue points, you got hot cues, 3 of them down there on that bank. Same thing too, where. It's just not the best implementation. You record these like as they're playing, or you can search over to the spot where you can't like set them ahead of time and they don't store anything. So once you turn the unit off, they're done. So like it's not like you could set a point, right after a breakdown or something like that in the track, and then it's always there. You have to hit it as it comes up, or go ahead and search and put the point in. Not the greatest, for hot cues, but if you wanted to, I'm sure you could do, some creative things with them. So it's, not the best, but not entirely unusable. You got a little bank of some effects here, or a few buttons. And I'll tell you, here's another thing I don't like about this is that these buttons here aren't backlit until you activate them. So, I mean, if you're in a dark place, you're going to have a hard, what are you going to do? Like, get all close up onto it and squint to see what it is. Yeah, if you use it enough times, you'll memorize where they are. But I just think it would have been better if they had been one color when they're deactivated and then turn a different color. I don't know what the cost, what that would have added to the cost. So you've got a brake, which basically is like a motor off effect. But the thing with it is it's tied into the start time too. So I mean, it goes up to 6 seconds. So if you had the so you hit the brake. And, let's do this. So let's play this. I'll show you this. So you hit the brake, and we'll put it up to 6 seconds, and then when you hit stop, it's going to like motor off. Or not. Oh. There we go, because I hit the brake button. Now, if I hit it again, it's going to have that slow startup. So you'd have to hit the brake and then bring that back down. So that's how that works. Reverse, that's there in case you want to hear what Satan has to say for you. Say to you, not for you, whatever. Search, that's just you kind of do a search with the jog wheel. And then you've got the scratch over here, And, again, with this, you don't have any kind of, marker or indicator. Oh, back there. So your loops and your cues, too, on the display, there's no markers or indicators of where those things are. You just kind of have to remember where they are. With the scratch, you don't have any sort of display. This ring around here is purely cosmetic, so, it's not going to help you out with that, I suppose. I don't use these to scratch at all. I have turntables for that. I use these just for mixing. But the scratch sound, I mean, you really could do it. If you needed the marker, I suppose you could use the time. I don't know. I really haven't tried much with these. But the sound it really isn't that bad, for this, I didn't think. So not too terrible. So anyway, that's kind of about the long and the short of these. Again, I kind of made them sound bad, I guess, but I'm not really holding anything back. I'm trying to give you my honest opinion. And for as much as I said that they can't do, I really like these a lot. They're, for what they are, they're great, and they're reliable. I mean, that's a huge deal, really, to me, for the price of these. If you wanted to play MP3s off of a USB stick, that's convenient. You think about the money, you'll be saving, with the vinyl, from, not buying it. Of course, you're still going to buy it anyways, but, the ability to play more tunes. Yeah, I mean, I would recommend them, but just know they have their limitations. They're definitely budget decks, but money well spent. So I'm going to put also a little short mix, just kind of as a demo, down in the description. And if you have any questions, if I didn't answer anything or kind of glossed over something, just go ahead and shoot me a comment, and I'll do my best to answer it. So yeah, thanks for watching.